I've been covering Christian nationalists for a while, and some of them just had their primary elections. So I wanted to go through a list of some of the extremist politicians that I've covered in the past who lost their elections. A little bit of good news. Should cheer you up a little bit. The first one I want to talk about is Rachel Hamm. Take a look at this video, mid-March 2022. This is, of course, before the election. This is leading up to it, when she was trying to garner votes. Listen to this.
Satan also has a plan for your life. And that's something that I think is sometimes eye-opening to people. Like, they don't realize how much there's a battle over your life and over your destiny, and how we have to war to sometimes get ourselves into that promised land. And for me, the war started really young when I was...
Yeah, that's completely extra biblical. I have no idea what she's talking about. Satan has a plan for your life, and he's warring to blah, blah, blah. I don't remember reading any of that from the Bible. She's just making stuff up and pretending that she got it from the Bible. But she can do that because her viewer base, her audience, her voters, believe that she's something special. As you'll see in a little while, they believe her to be a prophet, somebody who communes directly with God and communicates the messages that God wants the rest of society to have through her.
In preschool, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so I was normally home with her, but then she had to have surgery on her neck, and it was going to be quite the recovery process and going to be just a long journey. So my grandmother offered to put me in preschool since it would be hard for my mom to recover and also take care of me.
Okay, so far the story hasn't thrown any curveballs at me. Your mom had surgery, so your grandma sent you to a preschool. Got it?
So she took her up on that, and the preschool was a coven that was run by witches, and really it was...
Now we have a curveball. The bottom line, what she's trying to communicate is that our school system, from grade 1, from the very first moment you enter it, is trying to indoctrinate you into Satanism or into witchcraft. That's what she's trying to communicate. She was running for Secretary of State for California, by the by. Again, she lost. I just want to show you guys what kind of people we have running.
The cover was that it was a preschool, but in reality, it was a coven where they were training children.
Why would they need a cover for that? Covens are perfectly legal in the United States. You're perfectly allowed to train anybody to do anything you want. There's nothing illegal about having a religion and teaching your kids that religion. They wouldn't need a cover. Just the whole story from beginning to end is nonsense. It doesn't make sense at all in any way.
It was a coven where they were training children in satanic rituals and in all things satanic. And
I get that she doesn't understand this, but Satanism and witchcraft are not the same thing. Was it a witch coven or was it a Satanist group? They are two different things, actually. She knows so little, she doesn't know how little she knows. This is called the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Satanic rituals and in all things satanic and how to be a Satanist, literally. And then they just literally teach you how to cast a spell. We had to make covenants, which I have undone all of that now. One thing that's interesting is I had been told in the preschool that my firstborn would belong to Satan. And I did not have conscious memory of that on an ongoing basis until later. I remembered that at one point.
Yeah, so what she's doing here is nearly perfectly mirroring this story that a woman told in the 1980s. She told this story to her therapist, who she then started having a relationship with. And then the therapist wrote a whole book about these stories that this woman was telling him. The book was called Michelle Remembers. And again, it's all the same stuff. She was subjected to satanic ritual abuse is what she called it. And she went into vivid detail. Jesus interrupted one of these rituals and they were trying to sacrifice her, but Jesus blocked it out of her mind, blah, blah, blah. It was this big exercise in false memories, basically. And it was the thing that kicked off the satanic panic of the 1980s. People went completely nuts over Satanism in the 80s. There were tens of thousands of reports of these preschools and elementary schools trying to teach satanic rituals to kids. None of them were verified. None of it came true. None of it was actually real. It was all fabricated in the 1980s. I mean, it was a real panic. People were freaking out. People were being threatened by people like this. She is almost perfectly mirroring what that book had to say, Michelle remembers, and claiming that she was subjected to these satanic rituals. Absolute nonsense. And I honestly can't believe that we're here in 2022. Like I said, luckily, she lost. Secretary of State of California, that's what she's running for, and she lost the election. She lost her primary. She didn't even have a chance to run because she lost the primary. Rachel Hamm got 263,000 votes. 263,000 votes. 9.5%. Shirley Weber actually won with 63% of the vote, roughly 1.7 million votes. So that's something. But 263,000 people in California endorsed this woman and her message and believed she was the right person for the job. That's disturbing stuff, dude. So take a look at this. This is her response to losing. This is a tweet, Rachel Hamm. When you fought the good fight and had an honest contest and lost, that's when you concede. So in my case, there will be no concession. Stolen elections equals stolen republic. Election integrity, God help us. That's Rachel Hamm for you. Like I said, she lost, and that's what counts. That's what's important. That's good news we can celebrate today. Take a look at this one. Do you remember this lady? This is Candice Taylor. Some know her as Guns, Jesus, and Babies woman. She was driving around in a campaign bus like this. It says Jesus, Guns, Babies on the side. She was running for governor in Georgia against Brian Kemp. She's trying to beat him in the primaries. She lost. She got 3.5% of the vote. Luckily. This is Stu Peters on the left. She went on the Stu Peters show to talk about her election before she lost. Stu Peters, by the way, he's a talk show host. He was on radio, and I think he's on some TV network. He's now a flat earther. He doesn't believe NASA's explanation for the globe Earth. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. Listen to Candice Taylor's appearance on Stu Peters' show. Again, Stu Peters helped her run her campaign and filmed a lot of her campaign commercials.
You're going to absolutely destroy the Georgia Guidestones, demolish them, bulldoze them, and reject their demonic message.
Georgia Guidestones, if you're unfamiliar, it's just some monument in the middle of Georgia, like anybody cares. They just have some weird inscriptions about how to rebuild society if it collapses, and it acts as a calendar and a compass or a clock or something if you need. I forget what it is. Anyway, it's just a big monument. Nothing to be conspiratorial about. But she made it a centerpiece of her election. She's going to demolish the Georgia Guidestones. I don't know how she can justify that. I think they're private property. They were built by somebody and put up like by a private citizen. It wasn't a government project. But again, that's neither here nor there.
Once and for all, you're the only candidate willing to go head-to-head with the Luciferian cabal. You went to these Georgia Guidestones with our executive producer, Lauren Witzke, and part of our film division. How did you feel when you were there?
It was overwhelming, really. You know, it's kind of surreal. And I was kind of in awe of how many people showed up there, and the people walking up there, they looked like they were walking up there trying to find something, looking for something. And, you know, in my heart, I was in the car praying, they're looking for you, Jesus.
They were just coming to see a monument. That's it. There was nothing more to it. They weren't looking for Jesus. They just wanted to see a cool monument.
They're looking for you. And as they're looking for you, they're finding this in my state, that's in the Bible Belt, that's conservative. And it made my skin crawl.
They're not looking for Jesus there.
No, but they're looking for him and don't know where he is. And they're going to this satanic place, hoping to find something to satisfy that need.
That's absolutely unhinged, dude. Absolutely unhinged. So anyways, yeah, that's Candice Taylor. Once again, she lost her election. She got 3.5%. So what was her response to losing? Listen to this one, early June 2022. This is how she responded to losing her election.
I wanted y'all to know that I do not concede. I do not. And if the people who did this and cheated are watching, I do not concede.
She's playing the Trump card, if you will, which is to say she's lying and manipulating and taking advantage of gullible people and their fear and anger. That is the Trump card in my mind. She is trying to destroy democracy by undermining faith in the election system even further, as if Trump didn't do a good enough job destroying faith in the election system. This was her not versus a Democrat. This is her versus Republicans. She's facing Republicans in a Republican election run by the Republicans, and she still lost, and she's calling it cheating.
Georgia will not allow me to. I want you to feel inside of your gut a righteous anger for justice. I want you to pray specifically, I want you to pray for dark to be brought to light, for justice for the state of Georgia.
You know what's weird to me? Rachel Hamm prayed that angels protect the election too, and she asked her voter base to do the same. And Candice Taylor asked for the same exact thing. She prayed for angels to protect the election system, and then they lost. Seems to me, if God really does answer prayers, if there are angels around at all, and you really are a spiritual person, you would accept defeat. You said the prayer. That means God's going to make sure everything is above board, right? I don't know how she can sit here and pray for God to protect the election, and then she loses, and she says the election was insecure. Either God's listening to prayers and didn't want you in, or God's not listening, and there was cheating. You can only have it one way. You cannot have both. So anyway, needless to say, Candice Taylor is also contributing to the destruction of democracy. Check this next one out. This is Mark Burns. This clip came out mid-November 2021. Listen to this guy.
I'm excited about the growing movement, especially here in the 4th District of South Carolina, of people who are identifying themselves as just Christian conservatives, right? We got to take it back to the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I believe the people here in the 4th District of South Carolina are getting that. It's not just about being Republicans. It's about being a conservative Christian who believes this is a Christian nation, and any policy that is contrary to the word of God, we need to remove it from mainstream America and make it illegal.
The First Amendment contradicts the First Commandment. The Constitution is completely contradictory to the Ten Commandments. You cannot have both. So what this guy really wants is to remove the Constitution completely and replace it with the Ten Commandments. That's called dominionism, a real thing. This is a real ideology that real politicians have, dominionists. And there are, honestly, too many dominionists in government right now, too many of them. He was running for U.S. Congress, just House of Representatives, in South Carolina's 4th District. That's what he's running for. And guess what? He lost. Another person loses. This is the kind of news I'm glad to bring. I don't remember exactly what he got, but he lost by a lot. It was fantastic news when I found out. Just for good measure, though, take a look at this next thing that he said. This one came out in mid-June. This is early June. Directly before his election actually took place.
LGBT, transgender, grooming our children's minds is a national security threat because it is ultimately designed to destabilize the republic we call the United States of America. That's why when I'm elected, I don't want to just vote. I want to start holding people accountable for treason to the Constitution.
So if you're LGBT or if you're an ally even, not just LGBT people, but allies, he wants to charge you with treason, is what he's saying. And what does he think the punishment for treason should be?
We need to hold people for treason, start having some public hearings, and start executing people who are found guilty for their treasonous acts against the Constitution of the United States of America, just like they did back in 1776.
Yeah, so his plan for LGBT people and allies is to hold them for treason and give them the death penalty. That's his plan. Disturbing stuff. Disturbing on an entirely new level. But like I said, he lost. Largely, the primaries have shown us that people, for the most part, want stability. They're going more toward traditional establishment figures that have been in the position for a while, or who are going to return America to some level of normalcy. Generally, that seems to be the trend. Like I said, these are the primaries. So this is Republican against Republican. A lot of Trump extremists, like the people I've shown so far, have lost. However, that's not all of them. There have been a couple Trump extremists who've won. One of which is Doug Mastriano. Now, Doug Mastriano is a senator currently, Senator Doug Mastriano, and he's running for governor of Pennsylvania. He won his primary. So he is going to be going up against a Democrat in November to see which one's going to be the governor of Pennsylvania. And this is an incredibly influential and important race. If you live in Pennsylvania, you absolutely must get out and vote in it. It's very, very important. I would venture to say it's the most important election of your lifetime outside of the 2020 presidential election, because Doug Mastriano has influence over the elections and how they go and the electors that are sent and all that stuff. He can be used as a tool to pick the next president if the circumstances align just right. So it's an incredibly important election to vote in. So who is Doug Mastriano? A little while back, late April 2022, he went to this conference called Patriots Arise. And I'm going to talk about Patriots Arise in a second, but just watch his appearance there. Listen to this.
God is really working in our state. I know things are dark. I know it's not going to be easy, but we're going to win on May 17th with your help.
And he did. Like I said, he did. He won his primary on May 17th.
And in November, we're going to take our state back. My God will make it so. He will. It's going to be beautiful. Pennsylvania is going to be the freest, most hopeful.
Like, they love to pretend that they're all in favor of freedom. People like Doug Mastriano absolutely are not in favor of freedom at all. They are deeply in favor of tyranny and authoritarianism and will do whatever it takes to get there.
Most constitutionally based state in the nation. People are going to want to move here, and Maryland as well.
Wouldn't hold your breath. I think he mentioned Maryland because there's another Maryland politician candidate at this event with him.
We're going to unleash the potential, the energy and resources God has given us underneath our feet here. It's going to be a place of prosperity and hope. We're going to fuel the New England and Mid-Atlantic states. I mean, it's going to be amazing. And, you know, you think Florida looks good? Amateur hour after we're in charge.
Deeply disturbing stuff, dude. Deeply disturbing stuff. So who was running this conference is the question, right? Like, what is Patriot Arise? It's a full-blown QAnon conference. It doesn't try to hide that fact. It's a QAnon conference run by this person right here. This is Francine Fosdick, that's her name, and her husband. I forget his name, but anyway, they're the Fosdicks. This clip is of Francine, late March 2021. Listen to what she had to say to her friend Kirsten Weldon.
Biden, yeah, he took the shot. So that's another way of saying, okay, he's eliminated as well, because that's not really Biden behind that mask. I mean, you know, some people.
His eyes are black. What the other Biden had blue eyes. What happened?
Right.
They believe that Biden took the vaccine and was replaced with a clone. There may even be a demon in that clone. They're not sure.
Yeah, exactly. Unless he's totally possessed, which could be, you know, true, you know, taken over by demons and stuff.
That's not even the craziest. I looked for some of the craziest stuff. I've got a lot of crazy stuff from this woman, but it was too long to include. So I had to find one of the shorter clips. Kirsten Weldon, by the by, her friend here, another QAnoner, she sadly died of COVID last April, I believe. It wasn't long after her appearance here that she died of COVID. I don't celebrate anybody's death. I wish that she could have pulled it together and figured things out, just gotten vaccinated, but here we are. Anyway, Francine Fosdick ran the Patriots Arise conference, as I said, and invited Doug Mastriano, and he came. She even gifted him a sword while he was there. Full-blown QAnon conference. You want to be even more disturbed by this whole thing? Mastriano received a master's degree in strategic intelligence from the Joint Intelligence College in 1992. Is there any chance this guy actually believes any of the stuff he says? Is there any chance that he's actually a QAnoner, or is he just manipulating gullible suckers, trying to fleece them for everything he can? I can't imagine somebody who went to an intelligence college in the military actually believes in QAnon. I can't imagine a situation like that. In my opinion, I think he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's using QAnon to his advantage. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. There is one more person I wanted to cover, though, and that's Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker won his election, too. If you want to see me talk about that, stick around for the next segment.